Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Ed Cohen. I'm in Southern California, and this is Global TV Talk Show. Thank you for tuning in. Today's show is coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky. And our very special guest today is an esteemed educator and very well known in the field of English as a second language or beyond, and how people who are not first language English can think in English, not just speak in English. Let's welcome Aurelia McNeil. Hello.
Hello. Yes, my pleasure to be here. Yes.
And welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, that's great. So, Aurelia McNeil, why don't you tell us exactly what your position is and what your role is? I know this is like a first love for you. And
it is.
Yeah, and I want very much to ask you to just take the stage here and tell our audience of corporate human resource people and business people that service large corporations, and a lot of people around the world who are very interested to learn from you today.
Okay, so I have been teaching for about 30 years now. So I've been in the field a long time. I've taught corporate businessmen, businesswomen. I've taught in the classroom for over 20 years. I also teach as a tutor as well. So I do private tutoring and group tutoring. So, and I also teach other teachers how to teach as well. So I work at a university and I instruct them on how to manage and educate and instruct teachers and the students in the classroom.
Okay, and you have a very active LinkedIn page, which we're going to display in a minute. And okay, there is one of the pages. And the top question sort of says it all. Paul, if you could scroll down a little bit so we see that question at the top in red. And thank you when you get to that. So Aurelia, I'd like you to explain when we get to the top of the page, the question about, well, the question that you're asking to the public as it relates to your specialty. If we could please go back to the top of the page, Producer Paul. Okay, and thank you. All right, that question is, are you trying to enter college in an English-speaking country? Do you need to pass the Toefl in order to get a job? So that is your specialty, as I understand it. And tell us, please describe what Toefl is.
Okay, Toefl is a test for people who are speaking English as a second language, and they want to have some type of measurement for getting into college. So it kind of gives them a gauge whether they are prepared to go into a college or university where they speak nothing but English. So, and this test is required by many colleges and universities around the world.
Okay, great. All right. Paul, you have showing here on the bottom a black screen, which just says Producer Paul. If you could show the slides, the beginning of the slides, and we'll have Aurelia speak to them. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm going to talk about 8 fantastic tips for language learning, and this applies to any language that you're learning. So I do teach English as a second language, but you can use these if you're learning Spanish, French, German, whatever languages. So I want to start off to tell you that there are 4 skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Now, the writing and speaking are what we call productive skills. So this is where you're actually producing the language, whereas the reading and listening are receptive skills. So this is where you're taking in information, not necessarily producing language, you're just taking it in. So also to think that reading comes before writing. So reading serves as a model for writing, and then listening serves as a model for speaking. So just knowing that will help you to go about your language learning more productively.
So if I understand you correctly, I sort of imagined, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I sort of imagine a funnel, and you start off by reading and taking in, and then the writing comes after that as what, an expression of what you've read, taken in.
Yes, so we learn. Our brain takes in the grammar, the structure of the language when we read. And the same thing when we're speaking. Our brain takes in the grammar and how to formulate the sentences when we actually listen to it.
So all of this leads to eventually thinking in English, not just being able to speak. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, great. So how long typically would it take for someone who doesn't speak English every day to get comfortable? Of course, it's all individual, I imagine, but typically, what's a plan?
So someone who doesn't speak English every day,
right,
who's not practicing, that's going to be very hard because you need daily practice. But if they are doing something with the language each day, 6 months to a year to get conversationally fluent.
Yeah, okay. So people sign up for a 6-month or a 12-month program.
Yes.
Okay, and is this, well, I guess everything is done virtually now, isn't it?
Yes, you're talking about for the instruction? Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So was it always this way, or did you have in-person classes as well?
Oh, I've taught always. Yes, I've taught virtually, electronically, whatever someone needs, also in the classroom as well.
Okay, great. So is there a special technique? Let's just say, well, does it matter if somebody's from like a Germanic language background or a Hispanic background, or I don't know what else to say, Asian? Does it matter? A matter of difficulty different from one of those?
It does. It does. So the closer the language is to English, the easier it is for you to learn English, for example. So the languages that are a little bit, for instance, their alphabet is different from the English alphabet. They may have characters instead of the alphabet. So yes, it'll be a little harder for them to learn. It's going to take a little bit longer.
So let's say somebody's from a Slavic country, say Croatia, all right? So would typically that be more difficult for a person with that background than from somebody from Asia?
It could be a little bit easier. Be a little bit easier because the alphabet is similar.
Now, does a lot have to do with how the words are formed in the mouth?
Well, all of us are actually born with the ability to speak every language there
Really?
is.
Wow, I didn't know
Yes.
that.
We have a language acquisition device. Our brain is hardwired to take in language, and we can speak all of them. But what happens is as we continue in our native language, the ones that we're learning, the ones that we're exposed to, then the other ones kind of just fall by the wayside, and everything about us gets formulated for that particular language. So
Boy, that's fascinating.
it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, so something, I mean, now this is not rehearsed, audience, as you might guess, but we are having a conversation because I'm learning as I go along. So a TV show, for instance, Sesame Street comes to mind. When you have the green monster and the yellow and the red guy, and everybody's talking about how to understand what me as an adult thinks obvious, but at that level of, let's say, what, 3, 4, 5 years old, that's the beginning of learning about differences and building awareness of people who are different and from oneself, and then understanding communication. I'm stumbling through this because I really don't know what to say, but why don't you take it from there, and then we can go to the next slides.
Okay, yes. So what I'll do today is I'll give 4 tips for language learning for each of these 4 skills. So there's a lot of things that we can do, but I'll give out 4. So we'll have a total of 8. For 2 for reading, 2 for writing, 2 for listening, and 2 for speaking.
Oh, great.
And these are, some of these you'll be able to do on your own as well.
All right, Paul, if we can go down.
Okay. So here we have a recommendation to, first of all, get a book of your interest. And the reason being is because when you pick something that interests you, you're more apt to be engaged in it. It's something that you desire, that you want to do. And because of that, that will prompt or propel your language learning. You're going to read more of it. If it's on a subject that you like, you're going to read more of it. And so that's going to boost your language learning. And then, of course, later on, you can branch out to other things as well. But initially, that'll get you started.
Well, I have a story, a quickie. I hated English when I was in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade. But of course, it's a requirement, right? So
Yes.
I couldn't stand those books, the English classics, but I love sports stories, particularly baseball, about Ty Cobb or Babe Ruth or Hank Aaron, even, just all about the game itself. And I read that, and I think it's because when I was younger, very young, my dad was very much into sports. He played semi-pro football. So it was very, very much into all that. And so he said, you got to read the sports pages, forget about the rest of the newspaper. And so you see what's going on. And so anyway, yes. I get it, right?
Yes, great example. Yes, and so that second tip is to use a bilingual dictionary or translator for when you're reading. Now you have to be careful though because you want to build up your reading skills. So you don't want to translate entire sentences or lean on it or rely on the dictionary translator. But what you want to use it for is individual words or phrases that will help you to understand the text and help you to build up your vocabulary.
Okay, that's interesting. So the translator, does it come in, where you're like, I'm wearing headsets here. Does it come this way, or is it? spoken.
There are some. As you're reading, though, you might want to use something even simple like Google Translate. Something that's online. Type the word in and see what it gives you for the English translation. So this is a nice, quick way to continue to understand the reading without getting frustrated and to build up your vocabulary. So what I recommend is to have a notebook. So you're writing down these words in the language that you're learning, and then in English. And then you have a nice vocabulary notebook. You're building up your vocabulary and can refer back to them as well.
So you, as an expert in this, as a professor, if somebody speaks to you in Google Translate language, is it immediately noticeable? I'm laughing because I think it's funny.
Well, yeah, that's what we mean by not putting the whole sentence in there, because Google Translate, it is a machine. It's software. It's not human. And so there are some idioms that may be translated the wrong way. For example, if you might tell somebody, get off my back. And what you really mean is to leave me alone. And Google Translate might tell you literally to jump off someone's back, and that's not what you mean. So this way you don't want to get in the habit of, putting the whole sentences in there. You just want to use it for a word or two to translate.
Keywords.
Otherwise, you get some awkward moments.
Keywords. Okay. All right, Paul, let's do the next. Pen pal. What does that mean? You mean find somebody you like, that you can enjoy having a communication with, even though it may be tough?
Absolutely, because you have an authentic audience. Now that's going to motivate you for writing. So what I recommend is do a paragraph in the language that you're learning, and then a paragraph in English, your native language. And then that way you can exchange. They'll get some practice reading and writing, and you'll get some practice reading and writing. So it benefits both. But it's that real audience that, again, propels you or just motivates you to continue to write and get better.
So pen pal is, it shows our age, doesn't it? But what would somebody who's 10 or 12 think of that word, and would they replace it with something more techie?
Yeah, they have key pals, e-pals, so you can use these as well.
Got it. Great. Okay. And then what is native speaker tutoring?
So I also recommend, in addition to having the authentic audience, is to also get some tutoring for your writing. You want a native speaker, someone who's known the language since birth, to correct you. Otherwise, what will happen is your errors will get what we call fossilized. So you'll keep practicing, but it may be wrong, and it'll get embedded or ingrained in your mind the wrong way. So you actually do want to, put that effort forth in getting a native speaker that will correct you in the writing.
Great. Well, this is really educational, and I thank you for taking your time doing this. Just for timing purposes, we're about halfway through our scheduled time. So let's go to the next slide now. Okay, take over, please.
Okay. So a good way to build up your speaking is to actually teach someone what you've learned, and also to share it with someone. So that helps with the memory process. And in addition, you can hear yourself saying it. And so you're actually getting the practice that you need to continue on. And please don't say, okay, I'm going to wait till I get it all right before I start speaking. And otherwise, you won't ever start speaking. So you just need to, you are going to make some errors, but those will get corrected with the second point. So you need to actually use the language in order to get better with it.
So to people who are your students and others around the world who learn their English, this is a question. Do they learn their English by watching American TV shows and movies?
Some do. Some pick up quite a bit of English. So they're listening, they're taking in, but they also need opportunities for speaking. Because otherwise we have someone that they can hear it and understand it. So we have some that understand just fine. But unless they have that opportunity to speak, they won't develop that particular skill. Because remember, there's 4 different skills. So they have to go take that effort and just go for it and talk.
Got it. Okay, and the next item here, native speaker.
Yeah, so again, this is an area where you want to get some type of expertise, someone trained to help you with your errors. Because normally, if people can understand you, they won't bother to correct you in your errors. So, but if you have someone that is trained as a tutor or teacher, they know the errors that might be typical for speakers of your language. And they've been doing it for a while, and they can pick up on these errors and let you know what they are and how to correct them. So again, this is where you want to spend a little bit of time, spend a little bit of money to get a native speaker or some tutoring to correct you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Okay, so we're talking about podcasts here. And so you want to listen to the language and, if possible, authentic language. So not just the podcast or just the information that's for language learners, but you also want to listen to the information that the native people are listening to, because you want to build up yourself up to that rate. So you want to challenge yourself. And I recommend 15 minutes minimum per day, up to a half an hour, not more than that, because the brain gets tired. But you do want to train your brain to be able to listen for an extended period of time. And at first, you might only understand 1 or 2 words, and that's okay. But keep listening, and it'll increase. Maybe it's only 10%, it'll go to 20%, and it'll keep building up. You just have to be persistent with the listening. It's a hard one of the hardest of the 4 skills to learn, because with reading, writing, speaking, you can take your time with it. But listening, you don't always have the luxury of telling someone to slow down. You can, or if you're listening to an announcement, you may or may not hear it a second time. So it's the one that we have the least control over, and therefore the hardest, and we have to practice to build up that speed.
So what's the difference between an audio book and a podcast?
Podcast has a lot of times there are interviews. There is more natural, on the spot, spur of the moment language, whereas your did you say audiobooks? Your audiobooks, as we mentioned here for the second tip, is more rehearsed language, perfect language that we might not hear in everyday conversation. But it also is good, because many audiobooks are recorded by voice actors. And so they're the top of the field when it comes to speaking. So that's a good way for you to imitate their speaking and to get used to different voices.
There you are.
Yeah, so just to tell you a little bit about myself, I do individual and group tutoring. I do English as a second language and TOEFL. So you have me talk a little bit about the TOEFL. Many times people want to study in an English-speaking country, but they need this test to prove that their English is well enough for them to survive and to function. So I do that as well. So.
Okay, good. And so you get some kind of a written degree, a diploma of some kind that is good for job interviewing, right?
It is, yes. You get your scores, and it depends on your field, what the score might be to pass.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
This has been really educational, and I'm hopeful that it's helpful to you. And TOEFL means what? It's kind of a funny word.
It is teacher. I'm sorry. Oh boy. Okay. It is.
So we're looking at what it says here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to describe that further?
Yes. Give me just a moment here.
Yeah. No problem. So it says the world's premier English language test for university study, work, and immigration, accepted by more than 11,000 universities in over 150 countries. Interesting.
Yes, I'm sorry. Test of English as a foreign language. Yeah, test of
Okay, great.
foreign language.
Yeah, so I could see what, as Paul's scrolling down, there's different levels and different channels, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah, how interesting. So is there a demand for people to come into this business? Not to be competitive to you, but just to add more texture and bring more people to learning English properly?
Well, it is for advanced skills. So you have your general English that people want to function in daily life. And then you also have this test of English as a foreign language for reaching a higher level and for going to college. So it's kind of two different paths.
And so what do you think of what's going on now in our world today? Not political, it's all about business, and about the idea of people from Latin America and people from Asia, everybody trying to get a job, of course, and work from anywhere is developing into global talent, where companies don't have to as much relocate people to work in a company. They could work, whether it's in Lexington or Islamabad or Cape Town or in Rio de Janeiro, and they can still work for a company that's based in London or the US or anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I really do. You know, we are integrating in our culture and we're learning from one another. And we're growing together. So I think it's wonderful. And,
Okay, so I want you to come back on our show and perhaps join a conversation with others that we have on the program. And because this topic in our industry group is topic A today, the pandemic has created this awareness and this acceptance that people can work from anywhere as long as they have bandwidth and there's a measurement of performance and that they remain fully compliant with the government regulations of wherever they are and whatever they are. And so therefore, the growth of global talent is astronomical in my view.
yes, I agree with you.
Great. Thank you for being on Global TV Talk Show.
Oh, I appreciate this. Thank you.
And please come back.
Okay.
Great. Okay, thank you. And thank you,
Bye-bye.
Producer Paul. Excellent. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.